What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Rams Brothers. I'm your host, Dean, and I'm joined, as always, by my brother and the other great host of this show, Nick. And Nick, Saints, Thursday night football, playoff atmosphere, basically a playoff game. But first and most importantly, how are you, my good brother?
Good. Two 7-7 teams going at it for the world to watch on Thursday night. Should be a good time. I think our 7-7 is a little more, versatile and looks a little better than theirs. But hey, 7-7 is 7-7.
Hey, we'll take what we can get. 7-7. We were once 3-6. We've been 4-1 after the bye. And the Rams in this game, the official preview, 76% chance of making the playoffs with a win in this game. So this all implications, playoff implications, your respect throughout the league. The Rams are looking to earn it. This is the opportunity to do it on the national stage. It's 76% chance to make the playoffs with a win. It goes all the way down to 14% with a loss. The Rams are 3.5 to 4 point favorite. Depends on where you see them, what sports book you get them at. So minus 205. The over-under set at 44.5. And the Rams have gone over in 3 of their last 4 games. They went under in the game against the Commanders. 81% of the bets, Nick, have been placed on the Rams so far. Only 19% of the bets have been placed on the Saints. And both teams are currently 7-7, as you mentioned. And this is very much going to be the expectations of a playoff game, a playoff atmosphere, and everything that rides along with it. So let's go. What are your expectations?
The money is the only thing that really scares me because sometimes when 81 or 91% of the money is on one team on a primetime game, I feel like there's some calls that go one way or the other. But I mean, if you look at us versus them, I think we are just much more well-constructed. We have the better QB. We have the better head coach. We have the better defense. They have some great, Alvin Kamara and just really good role players and whatnot. But I mean, top to bottom, there's a lot of reasons why we are expecting this win. And this is a team you have to beat. And like you said, with the playoff chances, you got to win this one because it gets a little easier after this because then it's just Giants and then hopefully San Francisco just sits everybody for us.
The Eagles and the Seahawks game, obviously it's had some implications late in the season because if the Eagles are 10-4 and San Francisco is going to have the 1 seed in the final game, then there's going to be a potential opportunity to sit some starters. Who knows if they do that against the Rams? But here's what the playoff odds look like for the Saints. So their current playoff odds are at 41%. With a win, it goes all the way up to 74%, same as the Rams. And with a loss, it goes down to 23%. So the implications, there's actually more on the line for the Rams in this game. Like you could argue that the Saints felt like, they won a couple of games back-to-back, a couple of cupcakes too. Like they had a win against the Panthers and then a win against the Giants to get back to 500, but they were 5-7 before those 2 victories. They had lost 3 straight games previously to the Vikings, the Falcons, and the Lions, and they allowed, I think, 28 points on average in that game. And in terms of injuries, you're not going to get any Michael Thomas. Marshawn Lattimore is likely going to be missing this game. Chris Olave was limited. He's got an ankle injury, so we're going to just be monitoring him throughout the week. A couple other players, one of their back-end safeties is banged up, did not practice today. Their right tackle. So I want to make sure that we are hyper-focused on the fact that this game has more on the line. And I think that the Rams have a little bit more to prove, right? The Saints are in a situation where, all right, Dennis Allen's in his second year. I think he was the interim head coach last year. Derek Carr has been in the league for a long enough period of time where I think the jury's kind of out on the kind of quarterback that he is. Look at the head-to-head comparison between the two. Here's Derek Carr, 3,098 passing yards, 16 touchdowns, 7 interceptions, and 7 fumbles. A QBR of 49.9, which puts him 21st overall. And then there's Matthew Stafford, 3,320 yards, 21 touchdowns, 9 picks, 0 fumbles, a QBR of 62.8, which is 7th overall. Nick, I think that's exactly where I would put these two guys. Like if you're talking about head-to-head comparison, who has the better quarterback, who has more success in the playoffs, who has a Super Bowl championship, it's very much in favor of Matthew Stafford and the Rams.
Yeah, I think if you put Derek Carr on the Rams, this team is abysmal. Quite honestly, this year is totally lost. And if you put Stafford on the Saints, they're probably in a much better situation because their record was just so much easier. It's night and day with these two. I thought Carr was given a great opportunity here in New Orleans at the beginning of this year with a really weak division around him to kind of come out and be the juggernaut team that all the talent suggested that they were going to be. And lo and behold, they're 7-7 and probably going to not even win the division, to be honest with you. They lose this game and they're going to have trouble getting to 9 wins, which may get them into the playoffs depending on where everybody else lands. But I mean, they're first round out if they even do get in. They don't scare anybody. They haven't done anything against a good team, and anytime they get close to succeeding, it's followed up by a Derek Carr interception or like one of the worst you've ever seen. All the Saints fans are so sick of him.
Yeah. I mean, understandable, because this is what you're playing against. Like the quarterback on the other end is absolutely cooking. Matthew Stafford against Cleveland, 279 yards, 3 touchdowns against the #1 pass defense. Against the Ravens previously, #2 against the pass, 294 yards, 3 touchdowns, no picks. Since the bye, they're 4-1, 105.2 passer rating, 13 touchdowns, and 2 interceptions. I just have a ton of faith in the Rams and the fact that they have the quarterback that has been so great since the bye. Like, you have all the health on the offensive line. Obviously, you have the run game operating the way that it should. You have health with Cooper Kupp and Puka Nacua and the way that they've been developing and coexisting. Like, it feels like all of the confidence should be in the Rams' back pocket. But obviously, it's a Thursday night football game. You're coming off of a short week. The Saints are coming off 2 easy victories, looking to travel and potentially steal a win in an opportunity where they're underdogs. I just have a lot of faith in the fact that, yeah, maybe the Saints have a lot of kind of flashy names, skill players, role players. Like this running attack, Kyron Williams has more rushing yards than both of them. So Alvin Kamara and Jamal Williams, somewhat of a 2-headed attack. You also got Taysom Hill in there. So, I mean, you can kind of go back and forth. Like the offense, if you're missing Chris Olave, you're missing Michael Thomas. What is there really to show? I think with Derek Carr in the last game, he distributed the ball to 10 different receivers, which is pretty remarkable. Like, it's like committee by whoever can step up and make a catch. And, a lot of it is dump offs to Alvin Kamara. Like he completed 82% of his passes in this last game against the Giants. Elite game manager status. Like, leading receiver was dump off, check down, fantasy PPR king, Alvin Kamara with 5 receptions for 44 yards. And then right after him, it's Juwan Johnson, their tight end, who last year, I think was Dean's pick or one of Dean's locks. He was a guarantee to score a touchdown in our game against the Saints. I think it was after Christmas or right before Christmas, but it's a well-deserved rematch. There's obviously blood from the 2018 season, and Nickel Roby Coleman put that ass in a waffle frying pan. So it's going to be popcorn. I'm really excited to see this game.
Yeah, it's a Thursday night game, and you sit here and you think, okay, it's the Saints. They're at 7-7. Maybe we take it a little more serious. They have 1 win against a team with the winning record, and the team is Indianapolis. Everybody else that they've beaten there's the cupcake schedule. You said it yourself. They have not had to have a single test, and they're sitting here 7-7 with the same record as us. And every week we're going up against another playoff team. It seems like finally the schedule let up. Finally, and we get a cupcake game with the Commanders. But time and time again, this Saints team has thrown out opportunities to look like a good team, and it's going to be hard. This game feels like if we lose, it'll be a Rams loss and not a Saints win. We have to get out of our own way.
Because if you get beat, you're going to get beat by players like Jimmy Graham, Taysom Hill, like Lynn Bowden, A.T. Perry. Like, these are all guys that were getting receptions late in the game against the Giants. Jamal Williams, Rashid Shaheed, Foster Moreau. Like, you're going to get a little bit of everybody in this game, especially based on some of the injuries that they're dealing with. And I just have a ton of faith that the Rams are just going to be able to run their duo scheme to death. Like, you can get your double teams on the offensive line. You get the offensive line cooking. You rely on winning at the line of scrimmage in this game. Their interior defense, Kalen Saunders, Nathan Shepard, they're weak. Their second-level defenders, Pete Werner, Zach Braun, are also suspect outside of Demario Davis. And Matthew Stafford has been surgical. I don't see any reason why Kyron Williams shouldn't continue this trajectory. The Saints are allowing how many yards on the ground per game? This is what we're looking at with the Saints' defense, 131.5 rushing yards allowed per game, which is 26th overall, 321 yards allowed per game, which is 13th, 27 touchdowns allowed. Passing yards, they're great against the pass, 189.5 passing yards allowed per game. But why does that suggest that Matthew Stafford isn't able to get his based on what he did against Baltimore and Cleveland?
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't, and especially when you look at how bad they are against the run. You open the game up for Kyron, which just is going to open the game up for Matthew Stafford. It's as simple as that. If they load the box to try to stop Kyron, then you're just going to have people that are going to be able to get open. And with Puka and Cup, I mean, they don't seem to have a problem doing that. I would love if they were able to just run the ball all the way down. I mean, kind of similar to the plan that they had last week, minus the Kyron fumbles, and just get an early lead, eat up clock, and just score. And then once you get to the red zone, sure, get a little, pass happy, but don't forget what brought you down there, like they kind of have in these first drives up until the red zone.
Yeah, I mean, look at offensive production in terms of head-to-head. The Rams are leading in terms of yards per game, passing yards per game, rushing yards per game. The only thing that the Saints are better at right now is point differential. And Nick, you can argue that that has a lot to do with the cupcake schedule. Like plus, I think the Rams are plus 37 or plus 38 in terms of point differential coming out of the bye, plus 17 on the season. So a couple of lopsided losses to the Cowboys, to the Packers, a couple of games where you didn't score points. So, I mean, that's kind of what you're looking at. So it's lopsided to that regard, but like Derek Carr, Alvin Kamara themselves as a pass attack, they're not dynamic. And what Derek Carr is able to bring to the table is not game changer. It's game manager. And what Dennis Allen does, he's a defensive minded coach. They don't have a lot of offensive star power outside of what we already showed. And in terms of the defense, like this is what you're looking at in terms of the faces. Honey Badger, Demario Davis, and Cam Jordan. Like these are all players that are well-known. Every single level of the defense. You got Cam Jordan in the front, Demario Davis in the middle, and Tyrann Mathieu in the back. Like these are the faces of the defense. But then you look at some of the other underrated bodies on this team. Like Isaac Yiadom on defense. He's one of the better secondary players in the entire league. 88.8 PFF grade, which is third overall. Paulson Adebo, he's right behind Isaac Yiadom, 85 PFF grade, which is fourth overall. And then Eric McCoy, their center, is 81.8 PFF grade, which is fourth overall. So honestly, it's pretty impressive the way that they've been able to put together a couple of wins here down the stretch, considering they don't have a ton of talent, but like they do have some great underrated talent that a lot of the rest of the league isn't really aware of yet in players like Isaac Yiadom and Paulson Adebo. And Eric McCoy is a pretty well-known player at this point. So I'm pretty excited over the fact that this game I feel like is going to be extraordinarily competitive. It's any given Sunday to the point where you could see pretty much anything in this game coming off of a short week. So I don't, let's see what happens. Let's roll the dice.
It's at a point where you look at both these teams, and I think the general zeitgeist of the Rams right now is they're surging at the right time, and the Saints are kind of just like insignificant in the entire like NFL scheme. But that's exactly when, I mean, look at the Eagles and the Seahawks last night on Monday Night Football. It was like the Eagles were top of the zeitgeist, high echelon. The Seahawks had just lost 3 in a row, and Drew Lock is playing. Whenever it's the only thing that scares me about this game is that it's at Thursday night game on a short week. Anything can happen. Like if this game was tucked away at like 10 a.m. in like in the early slate of the day, I could feel like I can guarantee a Rams victory. But it's just because it's Thursday night. I don't feel as good about it as I should.
Yeah, and the fact that Aaron Donald was coming off of a limited pitch count, he had a groin injury late last week, and then he's got to come in a short week and then rush the passer against Derek Carr, try to force fumbles. But they were the most productive when he was on the field. 65% of the snaps, I believe he played, generated 4 pressures in that time period. So, and I'm also really confident in the young players to win because outside of their center, who we just talked about, Eric McCoy, I don't see a ton of other strengths. Their right side, if Ramczyk can't go, say it with me, everybody. Andrews Pete, not elite. Say it with me. Byron Young could have a game, and I'm looking forward to it. I want to see them come out in a dominant way, right? Because if you are able to establish a lead early, you could get some early turnovers on Derek Carr potentially, and then go up 2 touchdowns going into halftime, and then be able to kind of play with the lead. I have faith that they could do that in this game. We'll see.
Yeah. I mean, listen. You should feel good about it. As a Rams fan, going to this game, you should feel good. It's just 100%. Thursday. It just scares me.
100%. And then we got a couple of keys. Real quick, Dean's keys to victory. We kind of talked about them already, but One, maintain the offensive identity, limit mistakes, drops, fumbles. Nick, you already alluded to it. If the Rams are going to lose this game, it's probably because they did it to themselves. Self-inflicted wounds, drops, fumbles, whatever it may be, to let the Saints claw back in this game. Force an early Derek Carr turnover, number 2, and be able to play with the lead. He's got 7 fumbles on the season, 7 interceptions. Suggests that he's going to turn the ball over at least once in this game. So you have to be able to capitalize and come away with some points in that. And then special teams, number 3. If Havrisik misses again, you have to bring Mason Crosby back. There's no two ways about it. He's kicking indoors for 2nd straight week, especially if it's within 50 yards. You just have a short leash for a kicker like that.
I honestly was expecting something to happen during this week. Like
I'm surprised it didn't.
I wanted information on Crosby as soon as Monday.
So it's so strange because everything was perfect in the week prior in Baltimore in the rain. He was crushing the ball. It was 5 for 5. And then the next week he's perfect until the very last kick. So I feel like they want to give him a little bit more of an opportunity. But that's how you lose a playoff game. So your kicker misses a 44-yarder to bring you into overtime, which could have given you the opportunity to win the game and move on.
It's ridiculous that game was a sweat at any point, and it comes back to Lucas missing that kick.
Yeah, I mean that's the season seems like it's going to come down to, with all these playoff odds and everything like that, it's going to come down to moments that happened earlier on in the season. Brett Rippon, right? The Green Bay Packers game where you could have potentially started him there. The Matthew Stafford having a missed time against the Dallas Cowboys on the Philly play where he re-injured his thumb after he smashed on DeMarcus Lawrence's helmet. Like, there are moments in time in this season where the Bengals game is a really good example. The Steelers game, right? All these games come to mind that you could have had, and it's going to come down to the very end. So no reason for a Rams fan to not be overly excited about this game. They should be confident, should be excited, pack the house, be as loud as possible, and create a playoff atmosphere for the Aints.
Yeah, and you know what? I checked Ticketmaster just to see, just to see what it was going to be like, and it seems like it's filling up fast.
I'm sure.
The Commanders game, I think, was a little lackluster in terms of like the amount of people there, but it seems like the tickets are selling quick for this Saints game, which is good to see.
Good. Well, I think I'm ready for my favorite part of the week.
Is it time for Nick's picks already?
It's time for Nick's picks.
Isn't it crazy how quick this season has gone?
It happens every year. You're thinking to yourself, oh, we're only in week 3. And then all the way you fast forward, it's week 16 and you're getting ready for the central playoff run.
Yep. That's crazy. Nick's picks and week 16, my favorite number. They're back once again. We had a great weekend. 1 loss, 1 push, and 3 wins. 4 wins if you count Stafford over 1.5 touchdowns, which, let's count. Why not? Nick's picks overall record, finally, for the first time this season, is in the green. 39, 35, and 2. All this work to be up 4 units. But hey, the season isn't over. We haven't had our perfect week yet. And let me tell you right now, I think this is it. These picks are more than picks. I'm going to change the name from this segment to Nick's picks to Nick's locks. Not really.
No.
It doesn't rhyme.
No,
it doesn't.
It's got to be Nick's picks.
Speaking of rhyming, we have a Nick's Picks song coming right at you. So please open your ears, grab a nice cup of Hot Jones, and listen until your heart's content. We all need a lock. We all need a lock. We all need a lock. Dean, for the love of God, give us a lock. We want to wish you a Merry Christmas. We want to wish you a Merry Christmas. We want to wish you a Merry Christmas from both of the Rambros.
Unbelievable. That has to be number 1.
For as far as the Christmas one goes, I think that's the best.
That's the best Christmas one of all time. Well done, brother.
Thank you.
What do you got for this week?
From all 3 of us at Rams Brothers, me, Dean, and the amount of care that we put in. Browns at Texans. My only loss last week is when I bet against the Texans. Seriously, can't help myself. I run right into the fire every time. I wish it was just the Texans burning me every time because I go against them, but no. They're the team that whatever side I pick, either with them or against them, they lose me money on every level. They should be a stay away. But guess what? here on Knicks Picks, we don't know the meaning of stay away, much like Joe Flacco. How many times do they have to teach this old man a lesson? The Browns now have an adult in the room. That was James Butler. Long, tall, and handsome, an elite Flacco, keeping my Browns AFC Championship future alive every single Sunday, regardless of Joe and the jolt he's given the offense. It's the Browns D that will win this game. It's experience versus inexperience. Young Texans versus the Bulldog Browns. I'll take the Dogs 20-13 because every Browns game has a score where one team is in the teens and the other's in the 20s. I like Browns +3, under 42.5, and we'll start off a good week.
I'll take that. Texans have been shaky. CJ Stroud's been banged up. We know what Joe Flacco can do.
I just need to win a Texans bet just for my own sanity. I can't. I just need to win one, and I'll stay away forever. Commanders at Jets. Washington versus New York. We usually get this twice a year, and it's a horrible game both times. Commanders are 0-2 against New York this year. But you know what they say? It's really hard to beat a team 3 times, huh? Look, I know it's the Jets and not the Giants, but still, we're going to bet on this game because we're not even going to watch it. We're just going to bet on it because I think there's good value here. Just check the score, you know. Just have to check the score every now and then, and don't watch it so no one on Christmas Eve suspects that you're a degenerate. I watched the Commanders in person last week. They're not special, but they can move the ball, and their defense can force turnovers. Both teams playing for glory at this point, but if one team gets up early, I doubt the other will fight back hard, which is why I'm taking the Commanders because I think that they have a quick scoring ability. I just have a feeling this game will be like 10-0 for like 20 minutes. Give me Commanders +3, 17-11. Commanders win. This game, most likely to have a safety this week.
I like it. What's next?
Right?
I hate the game, but I like the bet. What's next?
New England at Denver. This looks like an easy ride with the Broncos wagon after a humiliating loss, and that's exactly what we're going to be doing. The Patriots have a coach who seemingly wants to out of his coaching situation, a backup quarterback who can only play 2 quarters efficiently, a defense once deadly, now just lazy, and a horrid special teams unit, which is like Bill Belichick's bread and butter. Colin Cowherd has a rule. He takes a team after they've got blown out in a high-pressure situation. And you know what, Buster? I do that too. I believe the Broncos pass rush will get home to Zappy quite easily, and Russ will be allowed to cook for the foreseeable future. Broncos by a touchdown may seem high, but we're taking -6.5 here with a Wilson masterclass attached. Sean Payton versus Bill Belichick has lost all its luster. It's like watching a season 1 episode of South Park. Back in the day, it was hilarious, but now it's just a bunch of old smelly farts. 30-12. I think Russ gets it done easily, and it's just a bad game.
All right. Not bad.
Dean, before I run it back, what are your locks? What's your lock?
I am going to go with Matthew Stafford being clean, staying clean in the pocket. I'm going to go Matthew Stafford not sacked. Is that a bet that I could take?
I don't know. You can take Matthew Stafford under
on Matthew Stafford's sacks because, and the reason why I say that is because this team is coming off of a week where they sacked Danny Cutlets or whatever the hell his name is, Tommy Cutlets, 7 friggin' times. So I think that the Rams' offensive line is playing really well. I think Matthew Stafford's going to stay protected. Maybe you just go over on Matthew Stafford's passing yards.
I think the very first play of Rams offense now, Dean just jinxed the Rams, is going to be a sack.
We'll see. All
right. Run it back with extra thick straps. Browns +3, under 42.5 in Browns. Texans, Commanders +3, Broncos -6.5. And my quick pick, best quarterback against the spread, Lions -3, Jared Goff over Nick Mullins. In Minnesota, they're going to blitz the hell out of Goff, but I don't care. I think Lions.
Hey, we need them to win. We need the Vikings to lose. Who else do we need to lose? We need the Packers to lose. We need Seattle to continue losing, although they just came off a big win. So, yeah, all aboard. All aboard the Lions train. And then hopefully we get a Matthew Stafford goes into Detroit to play the Detroit Lions in a playoff game.
God, that's the best case scenario for me.
Terrifying for Lions fans, exciting for Rams fans. Hopefully they can all get together and rejoice in the fact that we're all there.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I'd love to see the Rams prosper from that game, but then if they lose, I get to watch the Lions one more week, which isn't horrible.
Probably the least upsetting that a season could end is in a loss in Detroit to the Lions.
Yeah, I agree.
Regardless, I still have all the confidence in the world. If that happens, the Rams go in and win the game.
Heck. Yeah, I do too. I mean, right now, if you put us up against any team that is hosting a playoff game,
any team not named San Francisco, I think we have a pretty good shot.
Exactly. And they won't even be hosting till the second week. So that's fine.
Even them, I think we can give them our best test.
Yeah.
I really do, like we did earlier. Thank you guys for listening. We love you. We appreciate you. Back-to-back days with episodes. We'll have another one on Friday, maybe even Thursday night. Who knows? But we appreciate you greatly. And go Rams. We're going to get a victory on Thursday.
Rams house.
Peace. Go Rams.